Hey guys, you are watching Simply Emily, and today I am going to talk about my favorite books in honor of the passing of Harper Lee, which To Kill a Mockingbird was one of my favorite books, but apparently I lost the book, so I'm not going to talk about that one today. But I do have a bunch of books from whenever I was a kid and also up until now that are my favorites. I'm a huge reader. If anybody who knows me knows that I love to read. I don't really get that much of a chance now because adult life, you know? Okay, so I'm going to start with the one that I've read most recently, and I actually don't have a favorite book. I have so many books that I love so much, but I would not say that I have a favorite one. So I'm just going to talk about all the books that are very near and dear to my heart. So the first book I'm going to talk about, I read this on our honeymoon and I literally cannot put it down. It is called The Midwife by Jennifer Worth, and it is a true story about Jennifer Worth, and she is a midwife that joins a convent, and it just talks about all of her different run-ins with like good run-ins and bad run-ins on her journey of being a midwife, and then also how the nuns affected her and their different stories, and just finding herself and finding her faith in what she believes in. It is an amazing, amazing story. I would recommend it to anybody, and apparently it is a PBS series now, which everybody loved Downton Abbey so much. I'm not a big Downton Abbey fan, but everybody else did, and that was a PBS series. So I need to watch this, but I'm a little nervous about watching it since it's based on a book that I loved so much, but I am very interested to see how they did that. Again, this is called The Midwife, and I love it very much. The next book I'm going to talk about is The Help, and I know that everybody who's read this has loved it. Everybody has loved the movie. I thought the movie was okay. Compared to the book, it was like nothing. The book is pretty long and has so much information in it, and just a lot goes on, and there's no way they could have captured all of that in the movie. So the movie did as well as it could have. But basically, if you don't know what The Help is, you have probably been living under a rock. The Help is about a young girl named Skeeter and some black maids named Abilene and her friend Minnie and some other women back in 1962 in Jackson, Mississippi. So a lot of racism going on, all that kind of stuff. So Skeeter is a journalist, and she tries to uncover all of these stories from the black maids, even though a lot of them belong to her friends. Not belong, but work for her friends, because slavery is abolished at this point. But it is a really great book, very eye-opening, and it actually says on the cover, this could be one of the most important pieces of fiction since To Kill a Mockingbird. If you read only one book, let this be it. It was a #1 New York Times bestseller. It is a very, very good book, very eye-opening book. Okay, the next book I'm going to talk about is Memoirs of a Geisha, which I actually got this at a library book sale where they sell like books by the pound, so you get them really cheap. And when I first got this book, I really thought that it was going to be kind of racy. I had a different view on Geisha. I thought that they were like, I don't know, I didn't think very good thoughts about them. But this book really puts them in a different perspective and really gives a lot of culture, which I really appreciated. It is about a young girl who is sold into, her and her sister are sold. She is sold to be a geisha, and her sister is sold to be a prostitute, and it's kind of their journey. It's focused on her, but her journey is coming through the process of being a geisha, which is pretty long, and just a lot of the hardships that she's gone through and a lot of the cultural things that she has to do. So it is very, very good. It's also a national bestseller. It is by Arthur Golden, and yes, that's about it. It is Memoirs of a Geisha once again. The next book I'm going to talk about is called Why Cities Matter: To God, the Culture, and the Church by Stephen T. and Justin Buzzard, and it is such a good book. I ended up reading this book for a class. I was an interdisciplinary studies major, and we had to do this for our senior seminar. Look, I have all these like papers and notes and all this kind of stuff in this that I had to do, and I ended up doing this class by myself because it was an independent study. So it was so good though. It basically just talks about why cities are so important as a whole to the church, how they relate a lot of aspects in the Bible to a lot of aspects of the city, and it is just really, really, really good. I'm not usually into books like this. I'm more of a novel person. I like to create the movie in your head, and this is not that type of book. It's very much, I don't even know how to relate it, but it's not like that. It is a very motivational book, and it is very good for future leaders of tomorrow. If you are in high school or college, I would highly recommend reading this book to help you in the long run. The last book that I'm going to talk about that I recently have read is called First We Have Coffee, and it is by Margaret Jensen. And I found this book by going to an engaged girls Bible study type thing. Like, I would go to this lady's house, and she, with like a bunch of other engaged girls, and she would teach us how to cook and just easy meals and just a lot of stuff. It was really, really good. A lot of good fellowship with other people, and she had mentioned this book, and so I wanted to read it for a while, so I finally got it and read it, and it is so good. It is about Margaret Jensen and her family, and she talks so much about her mother, and it is a true story. They are Scandinavian immigrants, and that is who they deal with most of the time when they are over here. They teach, and her father is a pastor, and he teaches in Scandinavian churches, and they are just the people that I want to be. Like, they're such great role models. I hope that I grow up to be as good as they are, but it is such a touching, heartwarming story. So if you want a feel-good novel, I would definitely recommend this, First We Have Coffee, Then We Talk by Margaret Jensen. And now I'm going to delve back into my high school years. High school and younger. There's only one book that I'm younger in. That's the first one I'm going to talk about. I was a huge Nancy Drew fan. I have so many Nancy Drew books. I don't even remember what this one is about, but this is one of the Nancy Drew books that I kept. I would read them all the time. I think I've read most of them, to be honest. And they also came out with Nancy Drew computer games, and I still play those to this day because they are so freaking fun, and they are hard. You would not expect it, but they are challenging. So I don't care if you judge me, you should play them and you will realize how great they really are. But I was a huge, huge Nancy Drew fan. Such a classic by Carolyn Keene. This one is The Clue in the Old Album. Like I said, I have no idea what this one's about. I can't remember. I should reread them though, now that I'm thinking about it. Relive some of my childhood. For any of those who don't know what Nancy Drew is about, every one of them is different, but basically she is a detective, and she's a redhead, which means that she's a great detective and she will succeed in everything that she does. But that's basically what she does. She solves mysteries. The next book I'm going to talk about is the classic Harry Potter. So this one is The Prisoner of Azkaban, but I have read all of them. I have all of them. This is just the first one that I've grabbed. I know that so many people love Harry Potter, and I'm going to Harry Potter World for the first time coming up in April, so I'm really pumped about that, to live out my dream of becoming a wizard. And yes, if you don't know what Harry Potter is, which I highly, highly doubt that, Harry Potter is about a boy who was an orphan, and he ended up going to be a wizard, to wizarding school, and just him going through that, he is supposed to be the savior, if you will, of all of the wizarding world. His name is Harry Potter. So if you have not read Harry Potter, wake up and read all of them because they are fantastic. I actually did not read or watch any of them until my senior year of high schoschool, and I don't know why I waited so long. Lastly, I'm going to talk about a book that I was forced to read in my honors English class in 10th or 11th grade. And I'm so glad I was, because I loved it so much. It's a separate piece, a classic book, and it is about a boy who is friends with, it's set in World War II, and they are at a boarding school in New England, and it kind of talks more about the darker side of adolescence. It's through the eyes of a boy named Gene, and he is lonely and he is introverted, and then he has a best friend who is the exact opposite. His name is Finn, and he is just very extroverted, everybody loves him, and it just kind of shows the jealousy. And it's the reason I liked it so much is because there's so much symbolism in it. It reminds me a lot about of the symbolism in To Kill a Mockingbird. Not the same type of symbolism, obviously, but kind of the hidden symbolism that you really have to dissect the book to get it out of it, and it just makes the book so much better. And it also just, I've never read a book where I did not like the main character who the book was through, and I ended up hating the main character by the end of it. So I thought that was really, really interesting. It really put a different twist on the book, and I still love this book. I've read it many times over and over. And if you are forced to read this book, consider yourself lucky. If not, pick it up. If you are in high school, college, whatever age you are, this book is so good. And look up the different symbolism, because I guarantee once you read it once, you're not going to pick a lot of it up. It took me a few times, and I'm sure there's still stuff that I'm missing now. Thanks for watching Simply Emily, and don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and check out all my other social media as well as my videos on my channel. You will not be disappointed.